सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. Okay, so I'm going to start with this topic, Varana Vayavastha. I call it Varana Vayavastha because there's a lot of confusion about it. I had it too. And I think when it comes to topic of India, it always comes up, this caste system, whether we are in the West, East, and we all wonder what exactly it is and why it is there and why it has become so ugly in the current form. We always want to kind of criticize it, which I did too a lot. And but it's good to know what is the origin of it and then see, how we feel about it, that where things went wrong, we can draw our own conclusions. So in my personal journey, what happened was that when I joined Chinmay Mission nearly 30 years ago, and while studying Bhagavad Geeta, I learned this verse from our Gaurang Bhai over there, and that really opened my eyes. And then when I became a Bal Vihar teacher, I did 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and this was always a hot topic. So whenever this verse came, we had a lot of debates, and it was good because there was so much, in my mind there was so much misconceptions and all that. So with that, I'm going to go to my first slide. So here is this verse that I had also shared in our WhatsApp. It's a verse 13 of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm sure there are a lot of commentaries by many different great saints and sages in which you can listen also. But basically here it's saying Chatur Varanyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashah Tasya Kartarapi Mam Vidyat Kartaram Avyayam. So what is the meaning over here? If we go just by word meaning, what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, and then we'll go in detail, that the four categories of, we can call it occupation, Chatur Varana it is said, but talk more about it. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call it four categories of occupations, where Bhagavan says created by me, but then immediately he said according to the differentiation of guna and karma. Guna means quality of mind, and we'll go in detail about it, and karma. So if we just take the first couple of words of that line, we'll say, oh, Bhagavan created it. That's where we can get stuck. But then if you don't say what he's saying, it completely loses its meaning. Okay? So by differentiations of guna and karma. Can I request people to just mute themselves because I can hear some background noise. And when you want to talk, you can unmute yourself. And then in the second line, he said, Krishna Bhagavan said, although I am the creator of this system, know me to be non-doer and eternal. So there is an immediate contradiction, which is a hallmark of Vedanta actually. And then, so I want to touch upon the contradiction first so that we can clear that in our head, and then we can go to the first line, which is the most important one. So the other thing I wanted to tell you is, because all of you are scientists, I was trying to see that how I can approach this. So just like if we have a formula, E equal to mc square. So energy equals mass times the speed of light and all that. So, if I want to understand this correctly, now equation says that energy and mass, they were interchangeable and they're different forms of the same thing and all. But if I want to really understand this, I need to know what energy is, I need to know what mass is, and I need to know what speed is. So same way, in this particular verse, I need to know what is varna, what is guna, and what is karma. If I don't know the definitions of these told by Krishna Bhagavan, I'm going to take everything wrong. So we have to have a little bit of understanding of what these three words are. Then we can understand this. Because it's a subtle subject. Krishna Bhagavan didn't have too much time at the battlefield. So it's sutra form mein diya hua hai, there's a lot more in it than just meets the eye kind of thing. So here, I want to clear the contradiction was. The second line, he said that, I'm the author of it, but I'm a non-doer. Because in Vedanta, firstly, this kind of contradiction always is there because they want us to think deeply and rise above it. That's the final goal, of course, to go towards the oneness. But Here also Bhagwan is talking from the highest perspective, and I think that Vikramji has mentioned many times the cosmic identity and the consciousness, and then I've also discussed that it's a substratum. So from the substratum point of view, everything that happens in the universe, Bhagwan is the cause. That's why, or Brahman is the cause, or consciousness is the cause. So from that perspective, you can say he's the author. And so, like, let's take the ocean example, which Vikramji has also mentioned in the past, that if the ocean is there, ocean is the substratum, waves, foam, bubbles, everything that happens in the ocean is a manifestation of the H2O only in different ways. So the way I have to look at the substratum is, ocean can exist without the waves, but waves cannot exist without the ocean. That's number one. So, and the waves, whatever happens to the waves, it rises up, goes down and all, ocean is not affected. Ocean doesn't die because waves are dying, simply speaking. So basically at that level, ocean does not get affected by the waves. And the more deep you go, it is very quiet, shant and all. Up, it may be all kind of things happening because of, moon and air and all that. All the waves are created. But same way, Bhagwan is saying over here that I am the author, but I am a non-doer. So I'll just leave it over there. You guys can contemplate further why he said that. So now let's come back to the first line. So he said, Chatur Varana. So what is Varana? Let's go into that. Varna actually in Sanskrit means color. That's why we say Hindi mein uska Varna savla hai ya gora hai, something like that, Is he talking about skin color? Absolutely not. He's talking about color of the mind. What do you mean by color of the mind? So in Vedanta, the way they describe, this is one way of looking at it. There's no contradiction to science in Vedanta. So whatever physically the scientists may find out, all that is 100% valid. There is absolutely no contradiction. But the way they describe is, you can call it matter. So there is consciousness and there is matter. There is spirit or there is matter. Or you can say Purush and Prakriti. The names are given like that. That matter, nature, prakriti, whatever you want to call it, the physical world and the mental world also, because the mental world in Vedanta is a subtle matter, they call it. It's made of matter only, our mind, but it's a subtle matter. They are made of 3 gunas. So these are the building blocks, the gunas. And these 3 gunas, the way they describe, you may have already heard of it, tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. So what does a tamasic mean? Very, very short, these 3 things. Tamasic is inertia, and rajasic passion, and sattvic is purity. And in the yogic system, they are denoted by color. Tamasic is black color, rajasic red, and sattvic white. So our mind is made up of these 3 gunas, and there is a different proportion in them. So none can be without these 3 gunas. All of us have it. As long as you're born in the Prakriti on this earth or somewhere else, on some other earth, we will be having these 3 gunas. We cannot escape it. But what happens is that the way they function is that the 3 gunas, the proportion changes. So when the sattvic guna is rising, the other take the back seat. Other 2, they're not disappeared. They have just taken the back seat. And so that's how it works. So in a day also, you can see sometimes we are more sattvic, we are more receptive to knowledge. Other times, rajasic, I want to do this, I want to do that, passion running around here, there. And sometimes we are like very lethargic, I want to sleep. So in ours, the gunas can rise. In the daytime, up and down, it can happen. And the gunas are subtle. So basically, we cannot see the gunas with our indriyas, but the effect of it, we can see it. And then we can infer that, hey, this guna is rising in me. Because effects are well known about it. It's just like when you go to a doctor, you tell them the symptom, and then he go, hey, this is the disease you have. Something like that, May not be the best example.
What is the effect of sattvic?
I'm going to come to that. because I have a slide about it. So maybe when I finish the presentation, then if you still have question, then when we can talk about it, because I have it coming. So this is what Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. We are made up of this. Now, in our life also, one guna is predominant in us overall. So a person can be Sattvic person, a person can be Rajasic person, or Tamasic person. So in that context, each person will have a personality. And it is unfortunate that, Dr. Pamela is not coming today, because Ayurveda also has part of all this is there in there. So I thought that would have been a great thing. But anyway, I'll try my best to do at least this presentation, and then maybe sometime other she can catch up with us, all those things. So now our mind, these three gunas are there. That means our thoughts can be Sattvic, Rajasic, or Tamasic at a given time. And then overall, again, in that context, some people have more Sattvic thoughts in their entire life. That's why they're Sattvic people, Rajasic and Tamasic. So that's how. And so how do I translate that into modern language now? I can call it tendencies of my mind. That everybody understands. Hey, this person has this kind of tendency, so like that. And the guna, the Sanskrit word of guna is rope. So why did they call this guna? Because rope binds you. You can tie somebody with a rope, right? So these gunas, they bind us. जैसा मेरा मन होगा, वैसे मैं बंधन में महसूस करती हूँ. Because I'm kind of bound by my nature. See what I'm saying? We all are bound by nature. If I like something, I'm bound by it. That's why they're very clever, the way they come up with these words. So that's what it means. That ties you or binds you, and we are tied. Okay, so the next thing is, so how we act in the world depends on my gunas. A Sattvic person will, now you were saying, no, what is Sattvic? So a little bit I have put, but I have more coming in other slides. So what is Sattvic person? They have a clear mind. Knowledge will dawn on them easily. They are more receptive. It's a luminosity kind of thing. So this person is more like a visionary, because he has this such clear mind. He can think much better than other people. He can achieve much better than the other people. He can see things what other people can't see. Futuristic things and all that. So people in research, saints and sages fit this category very well, Sattvic people. And all of you in this group, I consider you in this group, because you all are researchers. So you know that you have to have clear mind to do, to go to a place where no man has gone before kind of thing. That's what in research people do. So this is a broad category I'm talking about. Rajasic person, who is a Rajasic person? Full of desires. And so what happens is this desires and all, they give rise to passion. And then that results in greed, activity, undertaking of many action, restlessness, longing, etc., because there are many other things that happen. Competition, all that when the Rajasic guna is rising. And this, if somebody wants to study more in detail, is verse 12 of chapter 14. Because there is a whole chapter on gunas in Bhagavad Gita, which goes in very much in detail what gunas are. And you get a very good picture of what it is. I just gave a very, very brief thing over here, because the topic is more caste system and not the gunas, but that's where it's coming from. That's why I had to bring it up. And what is tamasic person? Inertia is tamasic. So, dullness, darkness, inertness, heedlessness, delusion, all these kind of things, because sometimes we get into the mood, I don't want to know, just leave me alone. That kind of thing is like tamasic kind of behavior. I can't get up in the morning and things like that, And then some people have their personality, more tamasic personality. So what Krishna Bhagavan said, that it is the Varana Vayavastha is according to guna and karma. So guna is makeup of my mind, and karma is my actions. And so there is a complete correlation between my mind and my action. Jaisa mera man hoga, वैसे mera action hoga. So that's why guna, it comes in like sequence. Guna and then karma. So both of them determine that, what your varana is. So people work according to their gunas, and their action will be according to the tendencies of mind. So after understanding these three terms, what is Varana Vayavastha now? So predominantly जो सात्विक person है उसको नाम दिया गया ब्राह्मण, not Brahman. Brahman is consciousness. Brahman, like in the caste system, what we call today. Predominantly Rajasic person with good amount of sattva is Kshatriya. And we will go a little more detail into it. Predominantly Rajasic person with less sattva and more tamas is Vaishya. And they are the business kind, and I will explain how it happened. Predominantly tamasic person with little rajas and negligent sattva is Shudra. Now, this category is not by any means confined to India. He is in broad way talking about the minds of people in the entire universe, or at least on the earth. I don't know about other planets, but at least on the earth, whether you're born in Africa or Timbuktu, I don't care. He's describing, this is a division system to describe the minds of people. Okay. So now what happens is this, that in certain profession, it's conducive to them because of their mind. Okay. So what Krishna Bhagwan is explaining indirectly, Varana Vayavastha uska naam diya hai, that for any society to run smoothly, you need all four kinds of people. अगर सारे ब्राह्मण बन जाएंगे ना, डिजास्टर हो जाएगा यूज सारे क्षत्रिय बन जाएंगे, आपस में लड़ेंगे मरेंगे. ओके, सब वैश्य बन जाएंगे, only money minded, nothing else will happen over there, no research will happen. And then if laborers, they can't do anything on their own anyway, somebody needs to tell them what to do. So everybody needs to understand that to run any kind of organization, home, business, I don't care what, you need all four kinds of people. Sometimes one person may take all four roles also. Kisi ko, single person does a business, has to do all four. That's beside the system. Besides the point, sorry. But what I'm trying to bring over here is that I told you about the four different broad categories. And remember, these are broad categories. They can fall into each other, and somebody can be a little bit of both, and also there could be any permutation combination. But to make us understand, he just divided into four, just to be a little scientific about it. So Buddha, who are the Brahmanas? They are visionary, seeking knowledge, do research, teach, etc. Kshatriyas are administrators. Their qualities are, valor, physical strength, bravery, execution of ideas. Because जो visionary ने idea बनाया, उसको कोई execute भी तो करने की हिम्मत होनी चाहिए. It's not that easy. Ideas come dime and dozen, but execution also requires a lot of effort. So this is what these guys come into picture. So they could be kings, ruler, administrator. They can fight wars, because in olden days, the kings used to fight the war. But, they have physical strength. They are not afraid to take on things, अगर किसी वैश्य को बोले लड़ने के लिए जाओ तो वो भाग जाएगा वहां से, So that's what it is. We have to understand their mental makeup is like that. That's why they're called Kshatriya. Vaishyas are good in business, generating money, goods, agriculture and all that, because that's what they are good at. अगर किसी business minded आदमी को आप, थोड़ा सा भी पैसा दे दोगे, he knows how to multiply it. किसी और को दे दोगे, शूद्र को तो वो डुबा देगा शायद, but this fellow knows how to do that. And Shudras are what? Good in manual labor. They say, hey, look, I don't know how to think. I don't have the courage to take on the huge project. You give me some job, I know how to do it skillfully. That's what the Shudra is. They don't have the big vision. They don't want to take risk and all, but you give them some job, they'll do it very well. Because they get good at it. They continuously just, aap band karke wo kar rahe hain wahan pe. That's how it is. So they are not like, I already discussed all that. Okay. So this is what the four categories are supposed to be. So this, I took it from Chinmayananji's Bhagavad Gita. He actually, he's a very scientific minded. So he puts, Gunas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and he said ki proportion. 80% Sattva, 15% Rajas, and 5% Tamas is Brahman. Kshatriya is, you can see, and I can share this presentation with you guys. So, nowhere it is said that it is by birth. Okay? Just remember that. So now coming back to that, for a society to run smoothly, we need all four types. That's why it's called Varana Vayavastha. You take an American company, any major company, every major company requires four departments. visionaries, administrator, finance department, and workers. Because without that, a company will never be successful. If one of them gets bombed, a company is not going to be. You can have a great vision, great administrator, और money नहीं है तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला. You can have all three, but workers नहीं होंगे तो company बंद हो जाएगी. Household में, I told you, we need all three. Any organization need all three. So, and if you look at it from that perspective, no job is less important. I was just thinking about it, that tomorrow if garbage man stops picking up my garbage every week, the whole city will stink up. So you can call them laborers, but how important they are. So we need to really understand, and nobody should have this arrogance about, hey, my job is the best, and no, everybody's job is important for the society perspective. So from the government or the state point of view or Brahman's point of view, everybody is important. Because to run smoothly, we need this. That's why it's called Varana Vayavastha. Vyavastha means uska अच्छे से काम करना. That's what it means. So, and again, I kind of said that in this whole world, this division exists. So if somebody thinks that this Varana Vayavastha is not there in America, we are kidding ourselves. Because here also there are all four kinds of people. Wherever there is humanity, there are these four kinds of people. So now, people, according to their tendencies, are good in any particular kind of job. We know that. If you guys love what you do in your profession, it is because you have the passion for that, you have the mind for it, you have the inclination towards it. And so if I'm giving some other person's job, I will never be able to perform it well. Like कोई business-minded person है, तुम उसको administration में बिठा दो, he will not be a good manager. And there are people who will, या किसी government में बिठा दो. Like Chinmayanand used to joke that you take a वैश्य mentality का आदमी, उसको government में बिठा दो, तो फिर वो bribe लेना शुरू कर देगा. Because वो deal बनाना शुरू कर देगा. He will start making deals because that's how his mind is. So what they are telling you, that what your mind is, how your mind is, if you choose your profession like that, you'll be very successful in it. And that's perfectly fine. And in the body also, they have divided. This is just to make us understand that we have all four things in our body also. So the brain part, upper part is the thinking part, right? Torso and all that is Kshatriya, means it's more like, hey, shouldering the responsibility, doing things. Stomach is the one where we eat food and it distributes everywhere, just like money is distributed to the whole company or agriculture and all that. And legs are, it's like a laborer taking, people around. So in the body also this is going on. And we know that the body, to have a healthy function, all parts are important. Otherwise it will not run smoothly, the body. And in the whole universe also, so there is a sutra in one of our shastras, and people misunderstand the sutra completely. They said, oh, Brahmin to Bhagwan ke mukh se aaye hain, or उनके शोल्डर से क्षत्रिय आए हैं, और उनके स्टमक से वैश्य आए हैं, और उनके पाँव से ये आए, ऐसे बोलते हैं, right? But actually it is exactly ulta. In the whole if the whole universe is body of God, then all the Brahmins as though represent his head. All the Kshatriyas minded people. Now I'm just broadly categorizing it. All Kshatriya minded people, they as though represent the Brahmans, shoulders and things like that. So now you got where it's coming from, So, and then, and this point that I brought it before, but I want to again say it very, very strongly. Nowhere in Bhagavad Gita it says that it is by birth. And remember, Bhagavad Gita is a sar of the Upanishad. Upanishad is a essence of the Vedas. So whatever Bhagavad Gita is saying, our Vedic culture is saying that, our true Vedic culture. So we cannot discount that, oh, no, I don't believe it. Then you have to know the history where Bhagavad Gita is coming from. So in our Vedic culture, nowhere it said it. So now where did the birth come in? Of course, birth can be a factor in a sense. Like, you guys are all scientists. The same genes are there in your children. So there is more likelihood. But in today's world, we know, in my husband's family, it's a perfect example. It's a business family. He's the only one in this entire family who went into research. And maybe some similar stories in your families, I don't know. So it can happen that in the same family, people can have different varnas because their makeup of mind is different. So it's possible to do it by birth because environment also is there. Because in olden days, we didn't have internet, this, that. So एक goldsmith का बेटा goldsmith ही होता था. Because that's how so many centuries it went on, that the same profession they took on and all that. So from that perspective, ऐसा होता होगा. I don't know where this idea came from that ब्राह्मण का बेटा ब्राह्मण ही है, चाहे वो उसके कर्म राक्षस जैसे होंगे. But so I was just thinking that maybe that was the only reason, that the good possibility is there. That's about it. But it's not necessary that it is going to happen. So I don't know from where all these negative things have come about this caste system. It's our own downfall over the centuries that we took it so wrong. And then Angrez people gave the name caste system. There's nowhere. And I don't even know, and some of you have mentioned that it came from some Greek language or something. And कोई बता रहा था मुझे कि they used to cast these animals. वो ऐसे कुछ metal का गरम करके, and they used to brand it. And they used to call it casting the animals. वहाँ से उन्होंने वो word ले लिया. It's such a derogatory word, and look at how beautiful the Varana Vayavastha word is. So why do we call it caste system? I don't know. Sad. That's all I can say. So now the question is, can I change my Varna? Yes, anybody can change, but it's very difficult. It can be done. Humans are given that right or capacity also, I should say. But you can imagine changing your whole mind makeup. And in our Puranas, there are lots of stories about it. That does happen. I think that Kapil ji had mentioned it, that, this one of the lower caste person, he became a rishi, Mahagyani, and all that, So it's possible. And if you look at all the saints and sages in India, they are all Sattvic people, right? They comes under the category of Brahmanas, but their families, some of them were like Kabir ji was Julaha the, or kitne sare hain. And I know Guru Nanak ji comes from a Vaishya family because they had a business and all that, but we revere them like Brahmanas. So in India, it was always open, but whoever made the mess out of it, I don't know. But if somebody, guna and karma changes, Varna can definitely change. Okay. So now I took out, here is your answer, Vikramji, that what are the duties are prescribed according to Varna. So in chapter 18, what Bhagwan said, because it's a summary of the entire chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, he talked about you have certain tendencies in you're born with it, right? If you're born with it, it's your duty to develop it more. It'll be easier to develop it more. So he described the duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So Brahmana mein unhone kaha that you should develop serenity, self-restraint, austerity, purity, forgiveness, uprightness, knowledge, realization, belief in God. These are the duties of Brahmana born of their own nature, he mentioned. So it's verse 42 of chapter 18. You can go back and study more. And so if you're calling yourself Brahmanas, and if you're not doing these things, you have no right to call yourself Brahmana, according to Krishna Bhagavan. And then what is the duty of a Kshatriya? If you have those tendencies in your mind, prowess, splendor, firmness, dexterity, not fleeing from battle, generosity, lordliness. These are the duties of Kshatriya born of their own nature, verse 43 of chapter 18. And for Vaishya and Shudra, he said agriculture, cattle rearing, and trade are the duties of the Vaishya. So if you have that tendency, by all means, go and make a lot of money because society needs it. And then you can do charity and whatever you need. If you're good at that, then that's also a big plus. And then in Grahastha ashram, we know that that ashram supports the other three ashram. So making money is also very important. And service is the duty of Shudra born of their own nature. This is verse 44 of chapter 18. So this is my presentation because I had only 15 minutes and I took a lot more time because of that. But just if you have any questions or anything, and I'll give it back to Vikramji. I just want to close with a prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you, Umaji.
I'm
Very
going.
nice presentation, for sharing your knowledge. It's open now. I think one person at a time can pose a question to Umaji.
Okay, I'm just going to, sorry, give me just 1 minute and I'm going to remove this. I should be doing like not sharing or something.
PowerPoint, that is it.
No, that I did. You are scaring the stop share. That's what. There you go. See, now I'm getting better at this.
Great.
Maybe that's very good.
Thank you.
I just say this is very good. I enjoyed listening.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And I feel that this idea that I think that's a very good idea that people base the caste based on color or religious belief, but it should be more categorized as innate, what is called as virtues and vices rather than the appearance. I think most society and most nations in this planet, they categorize people either as their color or their origin or nationality. But I think that according to the Gita, what you explained, it is mainly because of your inner and innate virtues and the standards that you were either acquired over time or you were born with some of the virtues as a capability from the development of your body over childhood.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that there is some debate going on about reincarnation, but like Chinmayananji, at one place I saw his lecture and he said, okay, we keep talking about Punarjanma, but you have come from somewhere too. When you're born, suddenly like, hey, I just appeared, boom, like that. So you have a journey before also. And the tendencies are created through that journey. I don't want to start another debate about reincarnation. Maybe that's another topic we should take it and approach it more scientifically. But anyway, so basically whatever our tendencies are, whatever you believe it has developed from childhood or it was already there in previous birth. But your mind is according to your tendency and your job is according to that. And actually you will be successful if you do it that way.
Right.
And then imagine the Varana Vayavastha, they called it, right? So if everybody does their job, what they enjoy, how great it will be. Imagine that. Because I know whatever your profession is, you are in it because that's what you love to do. And
Right.
I know my husband is in science and for him to do science, whether somebody gives him money or not, he's going to still do it because that's what he loves. So that's what it is, that if we do what we love, we're not going to bother about anything. We're going to do it anyway, and we're going to do it the best way we know.
Let me ask you, Umaji. If there is a Shudra, and Shudra loves to do science.
Shudra will not be able to do. That's exactly what the point is.
Let me.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Let me just pose a question.
Yes. Okay.
In my view, in my personal opinion, all men and women are created equal. Given the right opportunities, when I stress the word opportunities, everyone can blossom to their best potential.
Mm-hmm.
All right? The classification, first of all, there are no parameters. How one would assess how much 5% and 15% and 20%? What are the metrics for it? What is the instrument for it?
Okay, so can I? Oh, you
What
finish
is
it,
the-
yeah.
what
I
is
can
the-
talk about that.
Who is going to determine that? Is it a Brahmana going to determine that?
No.
Shudra? It is going to be Krishna. Who is going to determine what percentage this person has 20% or 15% or 30%? That's trash. I mean, there is no metrics there.
Okay,
How can we quantify those qualities?
Okay, this is one of those things. You cannot do absolute quantification in this. for sure. Okay.
It's all subjective.
And whatever Chinmayananji gave, it's when I already told you, it is not to make it solid, and there is no such solid division like four different varna. Somebody can have both the qualities and everything in between. There is like infinite number of permutation combination can happen. Number one. So there is when because you guys are scientists, you want black and white. Life is not black and white.
Black and white.
Well, let me finish. Yeah.
Always there is a gray there.
Yeah. So they're talking about gray area, and then these are the broad category. That's why I brought those examples that a company to run smoothly, you need 4 different kinds of people. Okay, so Shudra, you in your mind, Shudra is a fixed thing. No, it's not. If suppose Shudra says, Shudra means what? I have a lot of tamas. What does tamas mean? I can't get up in the morning. Somebody says, go read Bhagavad Gita. No, that mere bas ki baat nahi hai. Jaake engineering karo, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to college. Okay? These are the kind of Shudra, the word has become very derogatory in India. So people just think of it a lazy person. Forget about the word Shudra because it creates a lot of emotion among people. A lazy person, you tell him, hey, go do PhD. Do you think he will do it, Vikramji?
Of course.
He will? No, how? He has to first become Sattvic. No, first he has to get up. First he has to...
There are Shudras, there are Dalits who are very good.
No, I'm not talking about Dalit.
But you're talking about birth.
Yeah, again you're going back to birth. Why? Krishna Bhagavan didn't say that. Krishna Bhagavan said, hey, you want to become Sattvic? He gave the 10 things to do.
So what I'm trying to make this thing clear here is that even today in 2022, June, there are 14 temples, famous Hindu temples in India, who do not allow the entry of Shudras, who do not allow the entry of women.
Tell them to go read Bhagavad Gita and they will allow.
So
for God's
what
sake.
I'm talking about is the circumstances prevailing at the present time in 2022. We cannot blame Britishers.
I'm not blaming British. I'm blaming ourselves.
Britishers exploited the pre-existing conditions within India, divisions based on the caste. They exploited, divide and conquer.
Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it?
These things were already there, pre-cast for hundreds of years.
I know, but even in hundreds of years, if something is going wrong for hundreds of years, we cannot say it is right. Hey, go back to your own Sanatan Dharma and find out what it is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is in today's world, before the invaders came, before the Britishers came, I think Janardhan Bhai put it very nicely, eloquently today on WhatsApp. The caste system, the way it was there, division of labor for whatever the rational, everybody was living in peace and harmony. But then the greedy bastards arrived, and some of the greedy bastards within the Hindu population became the slaves of those masters and exploited. And even today, the politicians, including the prime minister's party, there was a Sarvapriyanand Swami's commentary or a video that was posted by Kapil Bhai or someone who posted, where he talks about in Hindi and English and different languages and talks about Indians protesting at Harvard campus. All right? I have a different take on that. The people who were protesting of Indian origin, students and professors at Harvard campus in March of 2019 or whatever that was, or 2020, I think it was 2019, was they were protesting against the silence of the current BJP government against the ruling of the India's Supreme Court. India's Supreme Court ordered in December 2018 that all temples, all Hindu temples in India should allow entry of women and Dalits, Sudras. And the Indian government, BJP government, kept silent. And the protest at the Harvard campus was for that.
See, our today's topic was not for kind of.
Swami did not clarify what was the purpose.
See, 1 minute. I think we are going off the subject in my mind, because today's topic was not what has gone wrong and go fix it. That's not. Hey, first I need to understand where it's coming from, so that I stay rooted in the truth of it. And from there, then I will respect, and whatever this Shudra business has come, it's something like this. When I clean the toilet in my house, I will want to take shower first and then go in the kitchen, for God's sake. So it has to, okay, if you have done clean the toilet and go take shower, but then after you take shower, you still kind of tell, oh, you are untouchable, then it's our stupidity. Because at home, I am all for right now.
That's right.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's our stupidity that we do. But I think that other people might have some questions, and what topic I have covered.
Kapilji is next.
Yeah, Umaji, I definitely would like to compliment you to the way you projected. I think that's a true basis of Varana's. It has been exploited by many people, many invaders. And when I have brought it up, unless we are educated our own scriptures, what really it meant, we won't be able to defend. People would kind of misconstrue those, values, but we were following in those. There are numerous examples in our ancient history that people who were born like Brahmins, they become Kshatriyas.
Yes, they did.
Vice versa.
Mahabharat war had happened. Yes.
Like Valmiki, he was Shudra, but he wrote Ramayana and became a Mahapandit.
Exactly.
So unless we are aware of our history and the truth and facts, anybody can come and tell us and we start believing that. And that's exactly what happened. Jab maine, again, I think, brought up this Gurukul system, India mein ladies were also rishis, rishikas. Of course, there were a lot of lady rishikas. So they had the right to go to Gurukuls and get the education. But the first thing, these invaders they put that, ladies cannot have, Janeo system jo tha, that was basically meant when you go to Gurukul, it was called Dvij. So Dvij means it's a second birth as a human being. One is from mother's womb, the other one when you get educated, our scriptures. So the first thing they did was that women are not entitled for Janeo system. So if you can't wear a Janeo, you can't go to Gurukul. So they stopped. The second thing they did was stop Gurukuls. They stopped recognizing anybody who's educated from Gurukuls cannot really get the job. So that's how they made our society a totally illiterate and uneducated, and they modified those things, to their interest, and it got inculcated in our minds so deep that even now we are debating what Varana, besides Uma, spent so much time in explaining what really it meant initially in our scriptures. So that's all I wanted to say. I think we need to really educate, and I'm glad to see that there is awareness now in our society to really go back and see what our scriptures really meant and what they said. And then only we can defend that. If somebody is telling us wrong, listen, you're wrong. Or, ye jo Shankaracharya vagara ne kiya tha, that's what they did. They defended Hinduism and they brought it back. Otherwise, today there would be no Hinduism.
Thank you, Kapilji, Vikramji, and Uti. I just want to make two comments. One is, we were ruled before British by Muslims for 500 years, 600 years. And during Akbar times, if you wanted to visit a Hindu temple, there was a jizya tax on that. We forget that we were totally inferiority complex in us, in Hindus, from Muslims first. Then came from the British. And that's still in our DNA. We can't get rid of that. And the other, even a prior event, when Ashoka decided that he's not going to fight, it just killed the Hindu civilization. Because no country can survive without protecting themselves, without violence. If we can't protect ourselves, same thing is happening now. Muslims are criticizing Shiva. Shiva is really like Allah or Father in heaven. He's true. Shiva is not destructive. Shiva is the Brahman. It says no shape, color, form, or sex.
But in every religion they say God is omnipresent, potent, and all that. So it has to be the same God, just give them different names. So I don't understand what they're saying.
Right, but people, even Hindus, don't understand that ultimate. When you look at the Murti of Shiva or Parvati, you're connecting to the Brahman, the non-formless, omnipresent, no sex God. That's why Shiva is a male and female form, because he represents both. He represents the universe. And now we have riots in India yesterday or something, and they are criticizing. I don't know how many people have gone to the Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. I was there in 2019. The front part of the Vishwanath temple is taken over Islam. And they are saying that, this Shiva is just a stone, is a fountain, If we can't defend our origin, the Vedas, the Murtis, Murtis actually came later. Murtis are after the temples start coming up later, not the time of Vedas. There's no Murtis at times of Vedas, because it's Advaita philosophy, like Adi Shankaracharya, and then it came. So I think to say that we can just survive with truth, we can't. If we can't protect ourselves, Islam is trying to take over the world. So I don't know if you know about the history of Ottoman Empire. So like Romans were ruling Istanbul. The Ottoman Empire took over everything. And then the Islamists even came to the Turkish, Mughals came and ruled India. We forget that. The British only intervened. Now same thing is going on again. Now it is a union of Muslims, also African Muslims. That's also trying to take over the world. I mean, if India Hindus don't stand up to themselves, and they need to be courageous and defend themselves. Otherwise, we are in trouble.
I mean, they have to unify united for the purpose.
Yeah, we can't criticize each other. There's no reason. If we criticize each other, we'll fall apart. It's
Right.
like Chanakya would try to say, we cannot. We have to look at the bigger enemy.
So I want to bring up what Vikramji had brought about that who made this thing and all. Nobody made this. The way I look at this whole thing, these tendencies exist in the world among different people. And where you fit in, you have to kind of find out yourself. Hey, am I fitting in this? And these are broad categories. And if you want to go in detail about gunas, then we have to study chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, and it will clarify many, many things, because as I said, the gunas are subtle. So only the effects you see. It's something like when I sit in my car, I look at the dashboard and then I know, hey, where do I need the adjustment? And because I don't have the capacity to go inside and see. So dashboard is. So these symptoms are like dashboard that, hey, this is what rising in me more. And like you said, Vikram, you can change your gunas, but then you have to work towards it. And if a so-called lazy person wants to do PhD, yes, he can. But first he has to get up early. He has to have interest in the books. He has to have shraddha in where he's going to his college. And he has to give the time. If he does all those things, he will become a Brahmana at the end. Absolutely. So nobody said that, hey, the Shudra cannot become. If you can change the tendency of your mind, you can become whoever you want to.
I think the other thing which is
the society actually denigrates a particular community.
Whose fault it is? It's like Kapilji saying.
It's happening even today.
Yes, it is happening, and
It has changed a lot
today in India, in all parts of India, right? So we cannot just hide in the scriptures.
No, it's not hiding. It's like, to me, it was very enlightening. And now,
I
yeah.
understand that, but what I'm talking about the present.
You educate everybody. Everybody should, one of you should go and educate 100 other people and see the effect that will happen.
Right now in 2022, we cannot live in the glory of history. The history may be glorious, or it may be whatever.
Okay, you suggest what we should be doing right now.
I think Mr. Bhatt is next.
Let's hear the solution, Vikram Bhai.
Mr. Bhatt.
Because I am doing what I think should be the solution. I already started doing it.
I'm not.
You are reminding.
You did a great job.
Presented. You absolutely brought the real topic in a real way. And this thing we are talking about last thousands and thousands of years of it.
That's why it surprises me. It took me just little bit.
And literally speaking, when I still realize, when I go to my village when I was 8-10-year-old, my grandma was absolutely gave us the order that don't touch that person. If you touch that person, you take a shower right away.
So sad.
Those
It is
days
so
are
sad.
gone. Those days are gone now. So we are improving substantially, so much substantially that right now intercaste marriages are getting very common, absolutely, and that creates a reduction of all this varnas, and that is a good thing. That's according to the Vikram Bhai's argument. This is a good thing that what is happening right now is absolutely going in the right direction. But at the same time, if I still believe it, if I have $1 million and I give it $10 million to 4 different category of the person, who would make the $1 million successfully do the business and who will utilize that $1 million and cannot produce any money out of it. So people are born in that particular varnas has some meaning to it, that their tendencies are more towards what their trade or what their educational level or their working level capacities. And for them to become a PhD, you might need to find 1 out of 10 to do that, while those people can be successful in their own trade on varnas much, much efficiently, So, yeah, that thing, we have to accept the fact that it is not possible to modify the varnas instantaneously or the behavior of varnas instantaneously.
Also, people should not be recognized just like PhD should not be a stamp or a doctor profession, because there are examples of success like Bill Gates, or there are many people who had not had PhD, but still they have made immense contribution to the civilization. So,
Oh, of course. A PhD is just a stamp given by the world, but there are other people who are maybe more advanced than PhD also. You are absolutely right, because their tendencies are so good and in certain things. Of course. So these are man-made things, the certificate, and it has some value. Obviously, it has a value.
Yeah, there's an exception to everything.
Yeah,
right?
there's exception to everything. So true.
I just want to say one thing.
I like to add one more thing. This 10 days ago, in memory of my parent, my dad, he passed away 2 years ago actually. And so for our community, we donated about $20,000. It was not a big contribution, but it was for the education fund. And so this 10 days ago, in honor of his memory, there was an event organized in Mumbai in Birla Hall, and the entire community recognized our dad's contribution to the society. And, we were pleased as a family. It brought us everybody together in the auditorium. Of course, I was in America, so could not go. But my sisters and my parents and my maternal uncles and everybody was there. And it was a good recognition for good deed that we... So I was...
Yeah, go Jacob. Sorry.
I was flag. My mom was honored with this flag in memory, in which our names were inscripted. That part to mention to you, because it was something that we did was good for sharing the financial resources for the education purpose in our community.
Nice, very nice.
Very good, very good. I just want to add one thing. So functional MRI has changed the whole field, the high school students go to for an interview, see what kind of job they would be doing. So functional MRI, I think time will come where people could get a MRI, functional MRI scan and show which areas are bigger, like mathematical areas,
Interesting.
like, motor ability or musical area. There would be, I think if he devises some kind of rhythm system, then you'll be able to tell that this person will do good in this profession. There will be some gross outline of that.
I think there is some attempt now with the current government in India, where in school system they are introducing that the skills of a kid would be recognized based on his abilities. So
Right.
then they will be encouraged to go in a particular either technical side or education or science or healthcare taker. So that's what I think they're implementing now back into schools. And again, Gurukuls, exactly that system existed. Means a student will get training in multiple areas. Shastra Vidya, Ved Vidya, for Ganit mein, and all different fields were covered. And then the Guru will decide or will tell that, this is a field you will be better off, So I think it's being implemented right now into Indian school system. I think I read it somewhere.
The vocational guidance was there even 40, 50 years ago. Vocational training in schools in India, it was there. Technical schools were there where people were sorted out and they had to go through all those exams to, channel them which direction they're going. The sticking point that I have, it's not a sticking point. I think it's we had talked about in previous OMG meeting, when we say that there are inborn God-given abilities in terms of gunas and nature. Help me explain to me savant syndrome.
Okay, so I'll tell you one thing. It is not like God has given. No, tendencies are.
Whether it is Krishna or God.
It is our own karmas have created that over the years.
So what I'm saying is, study the savant syndrome and explain to me how that happens. Evaluate there is a whole organization of savant syndrome. I think Kapil Bhai knows that. We talked about it. Jai Kumar ji probably might be aware of it.
What did you say, Vikram Bhai? What you were saying?
Savant syndrome.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you more about it. I know a lot.
Yeah, so whether it is a God-given abilities or Rishi-given abilities that are there, that this person is Brahmin, this person is Kshatriya, this person is Sudra, or this person is business-minded.
Oh no, this is all brain-based. I can tell you what happens in. First, you have to understand what happens in the
And again, the savant syndrome is basically it completely debunks this entire philosophy. Completely debunks the philosophy. The savant syndrome also completely debunks the division or classification of people based on their.
No, wait a minute, but I personally think you have misunderstood again and again. He's not saying that somebody is pushing them to be Brahmin. It is like, hey, my mind is made up of this, and this is how my gunas are, and this is how I'm going to act in the world. If I do want to change my gunas, I have to go at a subtle level to change it, and then I can be, a different gunas. But it's not like God has planted this in my head or something. No, I was born with it because of my previous lives. As a human, I have a more chance of changing the guna. In the end, Bhagwan says become gunatit, because this is all prakriti anyway. So I think that.
I have not misunderstood anything. I think we all need to understand the savant syndrome.
I just want to explain to you. Okay. So first you have to understand. So you can look at a patient with the autism and see what the problem is. What happens is we have the main learning mechanism in the brain is a mirror system. We look and learn. So what happens with autism is they had the mirror system is not working, so they can't recognize the emotion of others. So because they can't recognize the emotion, they can't interact with people. So they're socially isolated. So what happens is parts of the brain which are not being used, so they are not using that talking information at all. They're not interacting with people, they're becoming lonely and depressed, but they can also, other areas can be used. That area, those areas which are not being used can be used for a new profession, a new skill. So it's the brain as a real estate, different areas, 1,000 parts, So those real estate areas can be used. For example, a blind person, they were showing, it could be a great magician because then all the visual cortex is there to help with the music.
No. Jay Kumar, you're talking about the acquired seven.
No, I'm talking about the small.
Heritable syndrome. I'm talking about the acquired seven syndrome.
I'm talking about the acquired. Their mirror system gets damaged. So the people somehow, we don't know why, the mirror system gets damaged, so they don't understand the emotions of others. So they don't commit, they become lonely.
No.
They understanding other people's emotion. For example, monkeys see, monkey learn. For example, if I'm talking to you, you're happy, my neurons are already getting happy.
I'm talking about the acquired seven syndrome. An acquired seven syndrome, an example is a contractor, 34-year-old contractor who was a high school dropout, goes into a barbecue party in his friend's house in a swimming pool. He takes a dive into the swimming pool and accidentally hits his head to the side or the base of the swimming pool. He has a concussion. He's taken to the ICU. He's in ICU with coma. And then he comes out of it with the skills of a doctor, neurosurgeon. Without having any training, he had no interest in it. And he like that, you have artists who all of a sudden acquire the artistic capability after an accident. There are people who actually develop love and ability to play instruments, musical instruments which they never trained for, which they never were interested in before the event. But after the incident, they're totally different people. So
I agree with some difference, but this mythology of
that's a huge.
Suddenly.
No, but how is it contradicting the what we learned? I don't understand that. How is it some accident happened and some tendencies changed, then the person can do according to the new tendency because the accident happened. So I don't see a contradiction.
I don't know if the accidents actually cause a change in tendencies, but whatever I'm talking about is the knowledge base. If the person doesn't have any previous training in a given field or no interest in the field, then all of a sudden becomes a genius in the field.
These are stories. This is not truth behind it. What? These are all mythology,
No. It's documented.
I'm telling you,
it's documented. I'll share with you the papers, Jay Kumarji.
I know, but I'm saying exceptions prove the rule,
No, it's not mythology. It's not mythology at all.
No, but I'm saying this is
a huge field. It's a huge field in neuroscience.
I know. I'm just saying few examples don't prove the truth, I deal with concussion patient, NFL player.
You cannot generalize. That's what Jay is saying. You cannot generalize it.
Right. Not everybody getting concussion is a bad thing for the brain. I can tell you that. Any concussion is a bad thing. It's not going to give a person a neural insight of what's going on. You're damaging neurons. You're not making more neurons.
No, it's because this is not a mythology. I think we have a. Let's move on. It's not a mythology. There's a huge branch. Neuroscientists were actually studying that phenomenon. Anyone else? Well, so I guess
it has been a very interesting topic, and I see that the reason why the philosophy of Geeta is applicable to everybody, to human
We don't have
beings.
your video.
I'm sorry?
We don't have your video, I said.
Oh, video. Okay, let me turn on. Start video.
So there you are.
Okay, so it's interesting. My take on it that I think, like Uma said, all the companies has to be work in the way it should need a labor, it should need an administrator, it should need all kind of those four type of people. But your question is very valid also that, hey, we have got combination of three gunas, everybody. Sattva guna, Raja guna and Tamas guna. So some people have, like she said, Brahman has got a big forgiveness and teacher and all kind of those things. They have big Sattva guna proportion. They might have some Tama guna and all kind of a little bit of Raja guna. 20, 80, 20, 20, 80, 10, 10 or whatever proportion.
But the dominant.
Okay, the dominance is always that it is Sattva guna. So, we know all these things, but man, it's still, when I was growing up and I'm thinking, why did I pick up the profession of engineering? Then it comes to me that I did not, my family is business people, and I am here engineer now, with all the kind of degree. So now I'm thinking, looking back, I say how this progression through, I go to Banaras and get the education there, and my only direction at that time was, I saw one of people has a blazer, blazer. And I thought, oh, that's very good blazer. I would like to have that one. And he was at metallurgy, the mining metallurgy college, he was from there. So I picked up metallurgy of that school, and without knowing what I'm getting into it, and just got through it. Metallurgy, I successfully got through it. But what I'm saying, it is not that I was, my Shudra was because my business people are Vaishya, yeah. Vaishya is the one which, but I turn out to be engineer and all kind of things, and sometimes teaching the people. So nevertheless, I don't know that division of labor which was done at that time, Krishna's time, is a good, but I don't know to say like what you said, can Shudra become a PhD? And like Uma said, he's lazy, he may not go to see the books, this and that. It happens. Like Wendy, CEO was kind of David, I forgot his name. He was top out, he was not educated at all. He is CEO. I don't know if success you considered by the money you have it, that's a different thing. So I'm like everybody, a little bit confused and not very, I'm clear on what Geeta says it, but again, there must be. So anyway, that was my thought process there.
You are what your mind is. Basically, that's what the message over here is. That's all it is. If you have to put in one line, if your mind has a certain capacity, that's how your action will be. And he's not pushing anybody in a box, Krishna Bhagwan. He's just telling you how it is. That's all he's doing. And he's just saying that when humans are born, because of the way the Prakriti works, you're going to have different kinds of people. And the different kind of people is needed to run the society. So just respect everybody. Find out your own tendency. Be happy with it. If you're not, do the hard work to change it. But respect everybody. That's the message over here. And don't think that one is higher, one is lower, because they're not.
But that's what is happening in the current society in India.
Then we need to learn ourselves and need to educate other people.
Educate.
That's all I'm saying.
That is one of the things that I fully agree with Umaji, what you were describing. I really appreciate it that you brought us up to the knowledge base regarding all the 4 gunas. But
Interpretation of message from Geeta.
what keeps me awake?
3 gunas, 3.
We can keep talking about all these glories of the past, but how do I explain to my daughter who
Show her this presentation. Show her this presentation.
She is born here, and she asked me, how come these 12 famous Hindu temples do not allow entry of these people? How come Hindu temples do not allow entry of women? Because women in age group of 25 or 20 to 45, because of the menstrual cycle. That's full of crap. It has no significance. And Supreme Court of India ordered, and the current Indian government stood silent. And they're still silent even today, after 3 years.
But that need to be changed. We all agree with
That
that.
has to change. And that's what my frustration is.
Yeah, but
There is some other side to it. There is some other side to it. If you have to listen to both sides, and those people who claim that there is some kind of a bad effect on women because of the certain energy centers. Now, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, and I don't know. Somebody needs to go and maybe quantify that thing, that what kind of energy is available over
We
there.
cannot even quantify the gunas. Forget about quantifying what's happening here. How do we quantify the guna?
How can you quantify certain things? I mean, can you quantify love? I'm asking you. Can we quantify love?
It's all subjective. It's all subjective.
It is subjective. We live with our mind, which is subjective. And there are hundreds of things that we cannot quantify. If I hate somebody or love somebody, I cannot quantify. I can change that feeling too. Today
are invisible, but it can be quantified from the effects.
It is a post-mortem effect. It's a post-mortem, not pre. Right?
Again, I don't know if it is true, but I was listening to one of the Sadhguru's videos, and he explained that, why the ladies who are in that cycle, they were prevented from going to the temples. The logic behind that was because these temples are located in very isolated areas, and the wild animals, when they smell the blood, they could attack the ladies. So they were encouraged not to go to a temple during that time. So, scientifically it makes sense, but then people exploited that and made it a rule. Now, even though the temples are located in a public areas, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to go. So there might be some logic and rationale, why the tradition started, but we have to understand that.
So forget about the temple, Kapilji, even in homes. Even in homes, when a woman goes through menstrual cycle, they're supposed to sit outside. Even in a home,
this is a very rotten society right now. We are living in a very rotten society.
No, that's my frustration. That's my frustration. That even today in India, even in America, forget about India. I know Indian families, when a woman is having menstrual cycle, she cannot cook, she cannot do anything. She sits outside for 3 days or 4 days. That is fanatism.
Lack of education.
That is fanatism, basically.
Yeah, it is fanatism, no doubt about it. And I think by education and by that can go away.
Understand me? That's what I don't like.
He said,
No, I agree. Nobody likes that.
I don't like this.
And even that non-Hindus cannot go in Hindu temple, some south. I mean, why?
But
We are.
there was
It cannot make any sense.
That was a logic about 50, 60 years ago, because that was giving that 3 days of the rest to that woman.
The woman feels tired, yes.
Because
yes.
she's bleeding, so she's malnourished. She's weak for those 3 days. So they were giving some rest to that. So that was a logic for thousands years old logic. It has been misconstrued recently, but it was a logic for that. Right?
All right. It was a nice session
Very
again.
good.
Dhanyawad, Umaji. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
I
Thank
have
you.
one business thing that you to take care of. The next virtual meeting is for June 25th.